2.
Hello, my name is John Sobieski, and I represent a group called Truth Crusaders. Today I'm going to read an article written by a man named Daniel Greenfield, and I downloaded this from the gatestoneinstitute.org, a nice website that has a lot of good information. The title of this article is All the Islamophobia You Can Shake a Stick At, and that's written by a man named Daniel Greenfield, as I said, who also operates his own blog called Sultan Kanish, K-N-I-S-H, Sultan Kanish. Most Americans were introduced to the term Islamophobia after the Muslim massacre of thousands of people had played out in their streets, their cities, and on their television screens. Just when Americans had good reason to fear Islam, they were cautioned that such fears were symptomatic of an irrational and bigoted Islamophobia working its way through their reptile brains. 11 years later, the number of Islamic phobias has proliferated as wildly as rabbits on a warm summer day, or al-Lalaki tapes at a London mosque. Any concerns about Islam can be dismissed as illegitimate by attaching a phobia at the end of it. And the power of the phobia is not just limited to killing debate about the famously moderate religion, but any extreme versions of it as well. The Muslim Brotherhood, an organization drawing its inspiration in equal parts from the Quran and Mein Kampf, whose authors' credits include Hamas and Al-Qaeda, coined the term Ikhwanophobia, which it defines as, quote, the fear and or hatred of the Muslim Brotherhood members and their ideologies. End of quote. There are no hard and fast numbers on the spread of Ikhwanophobia, but anecdotal evidence appears to suggest that Egyptian Christians and liberals are among the major groups stricken with the dreadful and often fatal disease. As part of its anti-Ikhwanophobia campaign, the Muslim Brotherhood unveiled an Ikhwanophobia website to alert infidels to the harmful effects of fearing the Brotherhood. Members of the Muslim Brotherhood, who were irreparably traumatized by the fear in a Christian woman's eyes as they were burning her house to the ground, are encouraged to talk about their secret shame. Quote, Ikhwanophobia.com aspires to open a new gateway for Ikhwanophobia victims, encouraging them to share their sufferings, end of quote, the site announces. And there may even be an Oprah special in the works. But the proliferation of Islamic phobias does not end there. Much as the atom bomb began an arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union, Islamophobia began a phobia race between Sunni and Shiite Islamists. The Shiite Islamists of Iran responded to the Sunni Islamist Brotherhood's Ikhwanophobia campaign by discovering Shiitophobia. You can't make this stuff up. According to Iran's Fars news agency, the United States, hosting Mubarak, and Israel conspired to spread Shiitophobia throughout Egypt. Quote, Cairo's efforts to spread the Shiitophobia were made at the order of the Zionist regime of Israel and were exercised on the basis like U.S. plots, end of quote. The poor wording of the article may give us some insight into the mind that could coin a word like Shiitophobia. It is unclear how long Shiitophobia has been around, but Vince Vance and the Valiant's 1980 hit single, Bomb Iran, was probably an early representative of the genre. At the Tehran International Book Fair, a Dr. Farzin Banki warns that Shiitophobic books must be identified and dealt with. Considering the treatment received by Salman Rushdie's books, there is no doubt that the mullahs are expert at handling Shiitophobia. Not to be outdone by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Iranian mullahs, the Salafis, currently everyone's definition for Islamic extremism, have also developed their own phobia. In response to Ikhwanophobia and Shiitophobia, Egyptian Salafists unveiled Salafiphobia. Quote, we are trying to hammer home the message that Salafists are normal people, an Egyptian Salafist told CNN. Of course, without acknowledging that Salafists with hammers are the last thing that anyone wants to see. Quote, we eat the same food, drink the same beverages, and frequent the same hangouts. So don't be surprised when you find Salafists sitting next to you at Costas sipping lattes, end of quote. And then possibly blowing up the place on the way out. While the Muslim world has been criticized for a lack of mental health treatment options, Islamists, to their credit, have already discovered more phobias than Sigmund Freud. Dr. Freud, however, would have commented on the psyches of people who insist on uncovering phobias in others while neglecting to analyze their own faults. Not to mention the mental state of mass murderers who insist that fear of them is an irrational phobia almost as serious as the severe case of acrophobia that gripped dying office workers in the World Trade Center buildings on September 11. Not content with dismissing all criticism of Islam as Islamophobia, Islamists have begun generating sectarian phobias for each violent group and subgroup. The proliferation of Ikhwanophobias, Shiitophobias, and Salafiphobias is a symptom of the Islamophobia that Muslims feel for each other. And it will not end there until there are more phobias to be found in Islam than in the APA's entire Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Amid all the Ikhwanophobias, Shiitophobias, and Salafiphobias, it is curious that no one has yet been diagnosed with Ahmadophobia. Ahmadis are routinely persecuted and killed by other Muslims, but the media does not appear eager to alert Pakistani Muslims that they might be coming down with Ahmadophobia. There is similarly no Baha'iophobia, Yazdi-phobia, or any phobias involving non-violent Muslim sects. Instead, all the phobias, Ikhwanophobia, Salafiphobia, and Shiitophobia, appear to be of violent Muslim groups, almost as if there is nothing irrational about those phobias at all. Thank you very much. This is John Sobieski signing off.